Imagine a vast cosmic clock, its hands tracing arcs across millions of years, each tick marking the rise and fall of entire spiritual ages. Helena Blavatsky, the pioneering mystic who founded modern theosophy in the late 1800s, us to see humanity perched on the brink of a great shift, the dawning of a new eon. But what is an eon? And why does Blavatsky argue that the year 2025 will herald a profound spiritual transformation for us all? Defining the eon, the term Aeon comes from the Greek Aeon, originally signifying a vast span of time or even eternity itself. In theosophy, Blavatsky repurposed and expanded this idea into a framework for cosmic epics, sweeping cycles dominated by particular spiritual energies that shape the collective evolution of consciousness. Each eon spans millions, billions of years, during which humanity progresses through root races and awakens latent faculties like clairvoyance or etheric sight. At the end of each eon comes a cataclysm, a profound upheaval that dismantles outdated forms and makes way for the next leap in spiritual evolution. Theosophical. Cosmology, macro and micro evolution, where Western history often views time as a linear march of events, theosophy weaves together human and cosmic evolution in concentric cycles. The eons form the macrocosmic rhythm. Within them, human root races mature, decline, and give rise to more refined beings, Mahatmas, who oversee and guide spiritual progress. Blavatsky claimed she communicated telepathically with these Mahatmas, extraordinary adepts who had transcended ordinary human limitations. They guarded the sacred knowledge of ionic transitions, releasing insights into the world precisely when collective consciousness reached the readiness to receive them. Why the end of an Aeon matters now, if we look around at our fractured planet. Technological disruption shaking old industries, environmental collapse threatening ecosystems, and socio-political unrest fracturing societies. Theosophy would interpret these crises not as isolated accidents, but as the death throes of a waning eon. When a spiritual age ends, the pillars that once upheld collective beliefs and institutions collapse, leaving humanity suspended between what was and what could be. In that liminal space, we face a stark choice: cling to familiar but failing paradigms, or embrace deeper truths that can carry us into the next era. Why 2025? Blavatsky herself hinted that the transition between eons would occur in our foreseeable future, and later theosophical scholars have pinpointed 2025 as the fulcrum of this cosmic turning point. Their methods vary from calculating numerical cycles embedded in sacred texts to observing astrological alignments like Jupiter-Saturn, conjunctions, and even consulting Mahatma communications, but they converge on the same hinge date. Whether or not you accept every detail of these calculations, 2025 symbolizes a gateway, the moment when latent forces stir, opening us to new potentials. What a new eon might look like, according to Blavatsky's vision. The next eon will be defined by unity, wisdom, and service. The fifth root race, those born into the new eon, will dissolve the barriers between science and spirituality, matter and mind. Imagine breakthroughs in brain-computer interfaces that let us perceive beyond the five senses, or decentralized networks and peer-to-peer energy grids that reflect a global ethos of cooperation rather than competition. As old, dogmatic institutions fragment, people will seek direct spiritual experience and participatory governance, forging communities bound by shared purpose rather than hierarchical authority. Stepping into the threshold, despite the grand sweep of cosmic cycles, theosophy reminds us that free will still shapes outcomes. An Aeonic shift does not impose its will on humanity. It merely presents possibilities. Our collective choices, whether we foster compassion or sow division, pursue wisdom or cling to ignorance, will determine how fully we inhabit the new Aeon. Promise. So, as the cosmic clock approaches its next great tick in 2025, each of us stands at a crossroads. Will we embrace the call to awaken our highest potentials, or will we hold on to the vestiges of an era whose time has passed? In the words of Blavatsky's enduring maxim, there is no religion higher than truth. As the old Aeon wanes and a new one beckons, let truth be our compass, guiding every thought, word, and action into a future where unity, wisdom, and service reign supreme. Since the dawn of time, humanity has entered vast cosmic cycles called eons, each opening a chapter in the evolution of consciousness and closing with the collapse of outdated structures. To understand where we stand today, let us journey through the 4 preceding eons, explore the concept of root races, recognize the signs of the 5th root race, and finally arrive at the year 2025, the threshold of a new Aeon. First, there was the Lemurian Inna, the very beginning of humanity according to theosophy. Billions of years ago, people existed in a semi-fluid, translucent form, their bodies not yet fully anchored in matter. Individual selves had not yet emerged. Each soul was like a cell within a grand collective field. However, tremendous geological upheavals submerged the continent of Lemuria beneath the ocean, bringing to an end the first chapter of human consciousness. Next, the Atlantean Aeon arose, ushering in the 2nd and 3rd root races. In this age, physical forms became denser, emotions polarized, and humanity began to harness psychic powers. Atlantis shone with a civilization that could manipulate subtle energies, but this very power was abused. Moral decay ensued, culminating in a cataclysm that wiped the continent from the map. After that, humanity entered the Aryan Aeon, 4th root race. This era was marked by intellectual development, the birth of language, and the founding of great world religions across Eurasia. Legal systems, urban civilizations, and theoretical sciences flourished. Yet by the end, excessive nationalism, ideological conflicts, and materialism eroded the shared spiritual foundation, leaving humanity fragmented. Following on, we now live in the post-Aryan transitional Aeon, the liminal period before the new Aeon dawns. Today, we face severe climate change, vast social inequality, and an information overload from digital technologies. These challenges are not random crises, but signals that the 4th Aeon is collapsing, making space for new consciousness to emerge. Meanwhile, theosophy's concept of root races refers not to biological groupings, but to stages in the evolution of consciousness and a subtle body. Each root race carried unique spiritual gifts, from Lemuria's collective awareness to Atlantis's psychic powers, from Aryan intellectual and religious insights to the intuition and empathy of the coming 5th root race. Notably, Blavatsky foretold that the 5th root race would surface as the 4th Aeon wave. These individuals will possess heightened intuition, latent telepathy, and a profound unity with all life. Today, we witness increasing reports of near-death experiences, spontaneous healings, and collective synchronicities, all early signs of this emerging race. At the same time, theosophical scholars have aligned human history with Aeonic markers. The rise of nation-states to world wars and the digital revolution correspond to the 4th Aeon's decay. Furthermore, various cyclical systems astronomical alignments, like the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions, the Hindu Yuga cycles, and Masonic Great Years all converge on 2025 as the pivotal transition date. When that time arrives, global crisis, economic collapse, debates over AI ethics act as catalysts forcing us to rethink our values and lifestyles. Simultaneously, latent faculties awaken, mass meditation movements spread, interest in occult arts surges, and virtual reality experiments hint at humanity's yearning to transcend material limits. Finally, from the misty beginning of Lumiere, through the splendor of Atlantis and the complexity of the Aryan Aeon, to today's transitional threshold, humanity stands poised at the gateway of the new Aeon. The year 2025 is not just a number, but a symbol of the portal to a world of intuition, empathy, and global cooperation. In this pregnant moment between epochs, each individual's choice to cling to the past or embrace new truths will chart our collective course. Let each of us connect with the cosmic current and lead humanity into an era of wisdom and service. Since her foundational works at the close of the 19th century, Helena Blavatsky has cast her vision forward into what she called the new Aeon, a vast cosmic era, yet to fully unfold, defined by unity, wisdom, and service. According to Blavatsky's core prophecy, the fifth root, raised those beings destined to inhabit this coming age will transcend the old dualities. Science and spirituality will no longer occupy separate spheres. Matter and mind will be seen as two poles of a singular reality. In her magnum opus and in subsequent writings, she emphasized that humanity's next great leap depends on internal transformation as much as external innovation. Within her letters from the Masters, Blavatsky relayed counsel she claimed came from the Mahatma's advanced adepts, who oversee the Aeonic cycles from a higher plane. These letters warn of complacency and moral atrophy, urging us instead to cultivate self-mastery, to deploy technology ethically, and to honor all forms of life. The Mahatmas stress that unless our scientific achievements are matched by spiritual maturity, we risk repeating the hubris that toppled Atlantis. Only by integrating technical progress with compassion and restraint can we navigate the turbulent waters of ionic transition and avoid being overwhelmed by forces we do not yet fully understand. Looking toward the year 2025, Blavatsky and her theosophical successors have outlined several key predictions that signal the dawn of the new Aeon. First is a global, collective awakening, a surge of empathy and solidarity that transcends national, cultural, and ideological boundaries. In practical terms, this means unprecedented cooperation on issues like climate change, poverty alleviation, and social justice. Rather than a handful of powerful nations dictating policy, grassroots networks and cross-border alliances will drive solutions, guided by an emerging consensus that the well-being of each individual is inseparable from the health of the whole. In tandem with this awakening, the theosophical framework anticipates a techno-spiritual convergence. Breakthroughs in neuroscience, quantum physics, and computer engineering are already blurring the line between brain and machine. By 2025, we may witness functional brain-computer interfaces that extend perception beyond our five senses, direct transfer of thoughts, emotions, even images between minds. Far from a mere application of technology for convenience or profit, these innovations will serve as proof of concept for the unity of mind and matter, validating esoteric teachings that have long suggested consciousness pervades all existence. A third prediction concerns the decline of dogmatic institutions. As more people pursue first-hand spiritual experiences through meditation, psychedelics, or immersive virtual rituals, the authority of rigid religious hierarchies and centralized governments will wane. Instead of top-down decrees, communities will organize themselves around participatory governance models, making decisions through consensus and transparent deliberation. This shift will reflect the theosophical ideal of unity in diversity, where multiple perspectives converge to form a coherent whole without erasing individuality. These broad strokes of prophecy find concrete expression in several practical indicators already emerging around us. The rise of decentralized networks, whether in the form of blockchain communities, open-source research collectives, or peer-to-peer energy grids, embodies the new Aeon's principle of distributed power, with each node in these networks acting autonomously yet contributing to a shared objective. They mirror Blavatsky's vision of a society in which each person's gifts advance collective welfare. Another sign is the proliferation of mass meditation movements, from large-scale, coherent studies that measure the impact of synchronized meditation on crime rates, to global peace summits in which thousands gather virtually to meditate together. These initiatives are more than feel-good experiments. They demonstrate measurable reductions in social stress indicators and foster a palpable sense of unity that ripples outward into community relations, disaster response, and conflict resolution efforts. Finally, integrative education models point the way forward for the new Aeon. Schools and universities are beginning to blend ethics of technology, mindfulness practices, and comprehensive studies in universal history alongside traditional STEM subjects, rather than treating science, humanities, and spirituality as unrelated domains. These curricula aim to produce graduates who are not only technically proficient, but also deeply attuned to ecological balance, social equity, and the interdependence of all life taken together. Blavatsky's prophecies and their real-world counterparts sketch a roadmap for humanity's next evolutionary chapter. The new Aeon will not arrive through a single event or charismatic leader. It will emerge gradually, as individuals and communities adopt the principles of unity, wisdom, and service in every sphere of life. By heeding the Mahatma guidance to temper ambition with compassion, by embracing the technological tools that extend consciousness rather than narrow it, and by reorganizing our institutions around participatory decentralized values, we align ourselves with the grand cosmic clockwork Blavatsky described. As 2025 approaches, each of us becomes a steward of this transition, choosing, through our everyday actions, whether we will rise to meet the promise of a spiritually awakened civilization or remain tethered to the old paradigms that have run their course. As the fourth Aeon draws to a close, we stand at a crossroads carved by eons of transformation, from the dawn of Lemuria's etheric humanity, through Atlantis's mastery of psychic forces, across the rise of Aryan intellect and faith, and into our present era of digital avatars and global interconnection. This vast Aeonic journey has been a school, each cycle delivering its lessons in consciousness and collective evolution. Now, having excavated the wisdom of bygone epochs, we must decide: will we cling to paradigms that have outlived their usefulness, or will we embrace Theosophy's promise of a unified, spiritually awakened civilization? While skeptics may question the precision of Helena Blavatsky's timeline, the symbolic weight of 2025 as a threshold remains powerful. Whether the dates align perfectly or not, the convergence of technological breakthroughs, societal upheavals, and a burgeoning hunger for deeper meaning signals that we are poised on the edge of something profound. The choices we make in this liminal space, our collective intentions, Our innovations, guided by compassion, will determine whether we step into the new eon wholeheartedly or drag the shadows of the old age into the future. Why should you care about eonic cycles? First, recognizing these patterns empowers us to navigate personal and societal crises with purpose rather than panic. When we see climate upheaval, political fragmentation, or digital saturation not as random catastrophes but as the final convulsions of an ending age, we can respond with clarity and resolve. We understand that crises are neither punishments nor failures. They are the crucible in which new awareness is forged. This perspective transforms fear into fuel for constructive action. Equally important is the call to individual responsibility. Each of us carries within a spark of the fifth fruit race's promise: intuition, empathy, and latent psychic potential waiting to be awakened. In everyday choices, from how we treat our neighbors to how we deploy technology, we either reinforce the old structures of division and materialism, or catalyze the emergence of unity and wisdom. Choosing love over division, wisdom over ignorance, and service over self-interest is not lofty rhetoric. It is the practical path through which the new eon takes form. To translate this vision into reality, 3 concrete steps can guide your journey. 1. Educate yourself. Dive into the Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky's monumental work that lays out the architecture of cosmic evolution. Explore her letters from the Masters to glimpse the counsel of the Mahatmas, those advanced beings who have guided humanity's spiritual trajectory for millennia. Seek out local or online gatherings of Theosophical Society members, where shared study and dialogue foster deeper understanding. By immersing yourself in these foundational texts and communities, you build an inner framework grounded in the wisdom of ages. 2. Join global coherence efforts. Humanity's next great frontier is not in conquest but in cooperation. Participate in world meditation initiatives such as the Global Coherence Project, where synchronized intentions create measurable shifts in collective consciousness. Explore biofeedback research to see how individual focus can ripple outward into environmental harmony. Join peace circles or community resilience networks that emphasize empathy and mutual aid. Through these practices, you become a node in a planetary field of goodwill, helping to realign social and ecological systems with higher values. 3. Foster integrative practices in daily life. True transformation is holistic. Integrate mindfulness into your routines. Pause for conscious breathing before decisions. Bring presence to routine tasks, and cultivate compassion in interactions. Use technology ethically. Support open-source platforms. Choose devices and services aligned with sustainable and humane practices. And remain vigilant against digital overconsumption. Engage in cross-cultural dialogue to break down barriers of prejudice and build solidarity across differences. In every sphere, personal, professional, civic, you can weave together mind, heart, and spirit into a tapestry that reflects the unity and diversity principle at the heart of the new Aeon. Now comes the moment for a collective call to action. The Aeon of service and wisdom is not a distant fairy tale. It's an invitation extended to each of us here and now. As cosmic cycles wheel toward 2025, will you heed the call to awaken your highest potential? If you are ready to journey into humanity's next great spiritual frontier, take 3 simple steps. Like this message to affirm your commitment. Subscribe to ongoing theosophical explorations that probe deeper into the mysteries of consciousness. Comment below which principle of the new Aeon resonates most with you, and how will you embody it in the coming year. Above all, stay curious, remain discerning, And let Helena Blavatsky's enduring maxim be your lodestar. There is no religion higher than truth. As we cross the threshold into the new Aeon, may truth illuminate every choice, guiding our collective journey toward an era defined by unity, wisdom, and service, where the spark of divinity in each soul ignites the radiant dawn of a spiritually awakened civilization.